What's up guys, and welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be discussing a very hot topic, especially in time for the summer season, which is ab training. Everyone wants chiseled six-pack, but no one knows where to start, and that's why most people fail. So today I'm gonna drop all the knowledge I have, which is all the knowledge that I gather over years and years of training and studying, and I'm gonna teach you the basic about training and nutrition to not just develop visible abs, but also to maintain them all year round. So without further ado, let's get into it. Having a six-pack is the main reason most people go to the gym. And yes, I will put it above building massive arms or a big chest, because having abs, it's first of all very rare, and second is one of the most noticeable things that you can have in your body, and especially when you're in a context where you're shirtless, like at the gym, is one of the first things that women notice. But it's also the hardest one to get, and normally it's for two simple reasons. It is the nutrition that is not dialed in as it should be, and also the training department, which means that you're probably not training as hard as you can. And no, I don't count skinny kids as having abs, because at that point you're just showing off your rib cage. That's why when I hear phrases like abs are made in the kitchen, I always refrain from using this phrase, because I think it's very misleading and it leaves out a ton of context. Now, abs are not made in the kitchen per se, but they're sure as hell revealed there. Abs, surprise, surprise, they're made in the gym like any other muscle. So if you want to have them, you need to first train them in the gym and then have the proper nutrition at home to make sure that you drop your body fat low enough so they're visible. Now, in simple terms, if you don't diet properly and if you don't train hard enough in the gym, how will you ever develop them? Now, the question is how to train abs properly. So before you understand how to train a muscle properly, you need to understand its basic function. So the basic function of your abdominal muscle are to flex your spine, or at least one of the main ones. So if you're able to achieve that during your training session, then you're on the right path. So today I'm gonna also show you Now, I will also show you some of my favorite exercises that I do pretty much every week in order to build my core. Obviously, today I'm in a home setting, I'm not at the gym, so I have limited equipment. So I will show you just a basic variation on a yoga mat, so everyone can do it at home to get started with this. And then you can tweak it a little bit next time you're at the gym, add in some weight or using machines or cables, etc. When it comes to abs, it's mainly divided into 4 sections. You have the mid, high, low abs, and then you have the obliques. Now, the mid to high abs, you can easily train them with crunches. The low section of your abs are trained with any sort of leg raises. And then you have the obliques, which is basically done by rotating your torso. In addition to that, there is movements like plank, for example, which are isometric exercises, so there is no lengthening or shortening of the muscle, but they're great to strengthen your core, and it's exceptionally helpful when you're doing, for example, heavy compound lifts or squats on deadlift, because they help you to stay more upright. All right, let's start with the basics. So crunches are one of the staple exercises in any ab routine, and it is very easy to perform in a way, but also very easy to get wrong. So let me show you a few key adjustments to make sure that you get the best out of this exercise. Now, naturally, at the moment, I am at home, so I only have access to my yoga mat. If you're at the gym, you can use a decline bench, you can use cables, you can use machine, you can tweak it to make it more difficult, so you can also stimulate more growth over time. Now, first thing you want to do is to lay on your back. You plant your foot on the ground for stability. put your hand on the side of your head and then flex your spine and squeeze your mid to lower abs. Control and squeeze. Actually, I meant medium to higher abs, my bad. Now, as you can see, range of motion is quite limited, so you want to bump up the reps in this case and do at least 12 to 15 reps. That I would say is the baseline, but you can push it as high as 20. If you can get to 30, maybe the exercise is too easy for you, so switch it up and make it a bit harder. Now, the next one I'm going to show you is leg raises. Now, again, lay on your back. Now, in this case, we're gonna extend our leg like that, and then we're gonna basically tilt our pelvis to flex the lower abs, like this. Control and squeeze. So this, again, it is the basic version, so it is something that I suggest to beginner just to understand how to actually move your body to squeeze to hit the target muscle. If you're an intermediate to advanced lifter, I suggest to do, if you can do them, hanging leg raises. They are fantastic. And it's one of the best exercises to hit the to basically hit the lower section of your abs. Now, there are other exercises that you can do to target different areas of your abs. When it comes to the obliques, you can do oblique crunches, which is basically just a tweak on the regular crunch. So instead of going like this, you do one side and then the other. Obviously, you can also do other exercises, which I find a bit more engaging, like Russian twists, so like that, and then you just rotate your torso. You can do cable wood chopper, which is fantastic. You can do extension at the hyperextension machine for the obliques. So you can do many exercises. I wouldn't go overboard with training the obliques, just because they might cause to develop a very thick midsection, which is what you want to avoid if you want to maximize the aesthetics of your physique. So these are the basics in terms of strength and hypertrophy. Now I want to show you another exercise, which is plank, which is, again, like a very popular exercise. Now, the basic version, basically you plant your elbows down, then you put your feet together, and then you raise your hips, and then you try to align your spine. Now, the key to perform this exercise properly is to basically always keep your core in tension and make sure that you don't push your core down, because that's what's going to engage your lower back and it might cause you a lot of issues. And also it completely removes the focus from your abs. Now, since plank and all the variation of plank that you can think of is an isometric exercise, so that means there is no shortening or lengthening of the muscle. It's not recommended for hypertrophy, but it's a great exercise to strengthen your core. Why this is important? Because the core is essential when you're performing, first of all, to keep a good posture, but also when you're in the gym and you're performing heavy compound lifts like squats and deadlifts. This is essential because it's going to help you keep good posture during those exercises and also push more weight because you're more stable since you have a strong core. Now let's move on with the rest of the video. In terms of intensity, you need to train your abs to failure. There is no other way, or at least as close as possible to failure as you can, so with just few reps in reserve. I will sound repetitive because I feel like I say this in every video, but hypertrophy is a matter of mechanical tension, and only training to mild discomfort is just not gonna cut it. Also, if you focus on hypertrophy and you develop bigger and bulkier abs, If you don't go overboard with it and you develop a thick waist, but if you just focus on building your abs, that means that even if you're a higher fat percentage, you're still gonna have some sort of visible abdomen muscles. So that's one of the benefits of training abs like you would train any other muscle. In terms of rep range and weekly volume, honestly, there is no rule set in stone, but I would use some sort of reasoning behind the rep range and volume that you choose. So from my point of view, what I do, I choose a higher rep range of 12 to 15 reps because it's a muscle that, since it's constantly in tension, and also the range of motion is not as wide as other muscle groups, I feel better when I increase the reps and I also increase the sets. But honestly, just one or two exercises per session is more than enough for me. The ideal volume, since it's a muscle that recovers fairly quick, I would train them maybe twice a week, and I normally pair it with my legs because it's the only muscle I have the strength to train after legs. So I do normally like 2-3 sets of one or two exercises, and that's more than enough for me. Now, as fundamental as it is for me to tell you how to build your core, it's also very important to tell you what to avoid. And the first thing that comes to mind are those silly circuits that have infested YouTube and the internet in general. Those quick circuits like 15 minutes ab routine to torture belly fat, or 5 minutes core training to have chiseled abs. They all have very, very similar title, and there's like a million of them. You just search on YouTube and it's like endless list of this workout. And even like in like pages with a lot of followers, they post these and they get millions and millions of views because it's clearly like clickbaiting title. Now, I'm sorry to break it to you, but there is no way to build a proper core, like to develop your abdominal section, by doing body weight exercise at a low intensity but just high frequency, because those are basically just cardio exercises. Now, sure, if you've never trained abs in your entire life, you might see some mild improvements, because obviously something is better than nothing, as suboptimal that something is. But at the same time, it is very, very hard to identify the source of your progress, because you're doing so many things at the same time. You're doing many exercises. You need to take into account your sleeping pattern, your nutrition. So just thinking that by doing those specific exercise is the reason why you have abs I think, is a very wrong attitude. Now, after you pass that initial stage, the beginner gains, like those exercises are gonna stop working for you, and it's just gonna be a waste of time. If you like them because they are engaging, because they're fun, because it's something that you can do on the regular, by all means, but keep in mind that's not what's gonna get you abs. This is just to burn few calories. So you need to shift towards the type of training which is hypertrophy style training, which is directly supporting your goal, which is the one of having visible abs. That is something that I wanted to quickly touch upon, which is the nutrition side of it, which is, as I mentioned earlier on, as essential as the training. Now, when it comes to the nutrition, you obviously want to be in a calorie deficit, because especially for natural athletes, forget about having abs while you're bulking up, because basically the cruel choice sometimes is choosing between looking buff while wearing clothes or being lean while you're naked. Converging the two is actually extremely hard, and to some level you'll have to sacrifice one of the two, either your leanness or your muscles. Now, the next point is the quality of the nutrition. So obviously, again, as I mentioned, you need to drop your calories a little bit, but also the source of those calories is just as important. And I would focus, but this is obviously even if you're on a bulk, on whole foods, so foods that only have one ingredient. Now, when you're dieting to develop your midsection, or rather to show it off, you need to make sure that you keep protein and fats high, so you are in a healthy range in terms of muscle mass and also hormonal function. But also, like, the only thing that you should really touch is carbs. So what you do, you slowly drop your carbs, and that's gonna help you drop not just visceral fat, but also intramuscular fat. One note, as you become leaner, basically training with heavy weights, it become increasingly more dangerous because the extra fat that you carry during the bulking phase acts as a cushion on the muscle. Now, that doesn't mean that if you bulk and you have higher body fat, you're not gonna get injured, or if you're leaning down, then you're gonna get injured 100%. It's about the increased risk of injury. But if you maybe focus a little bit more on machines where you can push in a safer way, you're gonna be totally fine. Now, the nutrition side of it is pretty much it. You can still have your cheat meals, obviously, because your body is gonna be more depleted, so it's gonna crave it every once in a while, and also the next workout is gonna feel amazing because of that. And also, like, when you diet for too long, since obviously below a certain percentage of leanness, your testosterone is going to start declining. You're also going to feel weaker and weaker and weaker, and that's going to reflect on the way you work out. And also, you're going to sleep worse, and all of these aspects are going to affect how visible your midsection is. So keep that in mind, fix the nutrition, and you're going to fix half of the problem with why don't you have abs. Now, finally, we're reaching towards the end of this video. I just wanted to talk about something that I think is very meaningful, and it's actually the real reason why I made this video, which is the body image issues and the body dysmorphia caused by social media. Obviously, especially if you're a young man, like a teenager or whatever, and you scroll on social media, you're gonna see all these people your age that have incredible physique. They have, they're shredded, they have chiseled abs, and they have big arms, and they have them all year round. Now, this, I want to clarify for whoever is listening to this video, this is not reality at all. This is just a small chunk of it, and the best chunk of it. In reality, like most people, like if they want to be healthy, they don't need to have abs, because they can just be between 12 to 15%. I mean, visible abs, obviously. So at that percentage, you might not have visible abs, but you might still have a strong core, which is what actually matters. Now, the thing about what you see on social media is that you know nothing about this picture. You don't know when they were taken. You don't know if they were specifically preparing for the photo shoot or for that video. You don't know if, well, most cases, you don't know if the people are natural or on gear, because that makes a big difference. You don't know the genetics of those people. You don't know how the genetics have impacted the way they look. Maybe they're lucky because they naturally carry less fat around the midsection, so they look leaner at a higher percentage, or they've just been training and dieting for so long that they exactly know what they're doing, and they know exactly what works for them. So I want you to understand how important it is to not get caught up in all these social media feeds, and when you doom scrolling endlessly and you see all these people, and it's just depressing because you look at them and they all look fantastic, and then you look in the mirror and you're like, oh man, do I even lift? But I understand that just by going to the gym like 3-4 times a week, just by dieting on a regular basis, and by being below 15%, you're already part of the 1% of the population. Those people who are extra muscular, who are super lean, and they have shredded abs and legs and whatever, that is like 0.5, not even percent of the population. It is such a minuscule part of the population that you cannot compare yourself to them because it is a losing game. You need to try to be the best version of yourself with the tools you have, do the best you can, work as hard as you can, because remember this, because it's 100% true. Comparison is the thief of joy. So guys, that's it for today. This is all I have to say on up training. Try to incorporate it in your routine, and I hope it will help you reach your goals in time for summer. See you all in the next one.